Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is McRae. Thank you for joining the screen for the Alfa Romeo Owners Club League for the next round. Now, due to a couple of tiny little technical difficulties, we've left it a little bit late to join the action, but we can join for the last couple of minutes of the qualifying. I say that as obviously there is a blank screen because it doesn't work, but there we are. So currently, as we near the last minute of qualifying, most of the drivers have now set a time. As you can see from the standing, James Rose has taken, or is currently sitting in pole position after a 25-minute qualifying session. Taking pole position from Andrew Whitehead, who was holding it for a rather long time in the session, and just 3/10 of Mr. Rose's pace there. So it'll be very interesting to see. It does look like he'll get another lap in, whether he can regain. And there is another change of position actually, as James just has his pole position taken away there by Greg Young. Very, very close racing indeed for pole position. As you can see, point as he takes a little bit of a slide to this lap will unfortunately be null and void. But he has done the hard work in getting this far, saving pole position. So currently it's Greg Young, James Rose, who looks like he's not able to improve on his time. Andrew Whitehead there. I'm sure pushing the car to the limit as he can to try and regain. It's going to cost him time, and unfortunately that's cut to spin, so he's not able to do it. Matt Daly there looks like he's taking third. Alan Matthews. Some of the names have disappeared as there is a server reset between qualifying and the race. And so as they all come across the line, we shall back out of that a moment while they do what's necessary to the server. To do as well, I believe. There we are. That's setting. So the new thing for the AROC League, beginning to stream the races. I believe this is round 16 of the Super Series. So get sorted out. Some very exciting races, close racing from last Thursday's event. Or classic orientated cars. Hopefully, if it's anything like last week, it would be very exciting. But there were some very notable grid changes during the race. A few of the pros making some mistakes as well, so giving the rest of the pack definitely a leap forward, chasing them down. the moment. Look, yeah. There's still a couple of racing away. So looking at, I believe, the updated championship standings, Matt Daly takes the top spot in the championship, followed by Colin Knibb, who I believe is one of the pro drivers, Andrew Whitehead in third. So the first top two positions actually tied for points there. Over to the thing there. Andrew Cracker in fourth, Timothy Perry in fifth, Paul Plant in sixth, Alex Smith in seventh, Alan Matthews in eighth, John Billingsley in ninth, and Greg Young in 10th place, in the championship. Still just waiting for the server to restart. We'll just go through the official order for the grid. So I believe this is a endurance race format of an hour. Now, so I believe there are pit stops for this. So it'll be interesting to see people's tactics. I think tyre choice was a hot topic during the week as well for the drivers, as they so there is mandatory pit stops for this race for the drivers, so it'll be interesting to see how they manage to break that. Right, I believe that's where that needs to be while we wait for the session to begin. Fortunately, we've had one Got to disconnect already as we wait for the last couple of minutes. So, Greg Young managed to clinch pole position there on, I believe, the grippy side of the circuit as well. So hopefully should help him get a good getaway there. James Rose in second place on the grid on the second row. We have Matt Daly actually in third. So it looks like he actually managed to clinch Andrew Whitehead for fourth, but Andrew still again on the second row. On the third row, Alan Matthews and John Billingsley. On the sixth row, I believe, Paul Plant and Sam Buctus, Will Harper, Alex Smith, Rob Whitney in 11th, and chasing up the pack, Steve Knight, 12th. So, as we wait for the last minute, as we see, we'll see what they can do for the next hour of racing. All of the, I believe, top drivers will be carrying success ballast or ballast of some sort with them as well. So it'll be to see how that stirs things up a little bit. Very, very quick circuit, I believe. It seems that during the brief practice qualifying session, rather, we were able to see there's some corners that can throw these cars off balance. So trying to manage that for a full hour is going to really sort out some of the more talented drivers than the rest of them. As we count down the final 15 seconds, the lights show. Everyone prepares to get ready. The lights go red. And they go out and they're away. Rather unchanged by the looks of it. As they race down to the first corner. One starting to filter in. We've got some chasing down the inside as Greg Young, I believe, is trying to challenge everyone, I think, through very cleanly. But Mr. Rose there managing to get down the inside of the circuit. And run away with first place for the moment. There's been a few changes in the middle of the pack. Whitehead back up to fourth. There's a battle going on in the middle. One's very, very close together at the moment, changing places. And there's been contact in the middle. As it looks like Paul Plant has unfortunately been had a knock on the rear of his car, sending him into a spin as Matt Daly is managing to get past Greg Young for second place. And again, there's contact again at the front of the pack as well. So who was that? That was James Rose, unfortunately, bearing quite a heavy brunt of that, ending up in the middle of the pack. Again, more contact. Andrew Whitehead's facing the wrong way, just getting going there. Again, losing out several positions to that tussle. Didn't manage to see who he unfortunately made contact with. As Will Harper just getting a little bit wide, still has the commanding position against Alex Smith. He's slow for the last bend to complete the first lap. Again, there's a chase for the middle, 3 wide into the first corner. And that's Matt Daly again taking a bit of a brunt bit of a knock to the front of the car. As they're trying to go too wide. And again, it's now chasing on Andrew Whitehead. There's a change at the back of the circuit. James Rose is now back up into fourth after early contact in the race. He's now going to be fighting hard to try and get back to the front. There's a very, very close gap in the back. There's a change in the middle of there as Paul Plant's managed to... again, Matt Daly's had a bit of contact there and has lost out to a few places. So after the first couple of laps, Will Harper just losing out on a position. Beg your pardon, to James Rose. So many changes happening in the middle of the pack as they're all together. You can see how much it affects the success balance. The ballast on the car is having it evening out the field. James Rose bumping over the very high sausage curves there by the looks of it. Everyone now beginning to set their fastest laps. After the first few races, we've got again too wide coming into the first corner. Andrew Whitehead placing the car very, very well on the inside of Will Harper there. Blowing down appropriately under the brakes and managing to get him on the first corner. So after the first couple of laps, looks like we've had Rob Whitney's possibly made contact, a bit of a spin there, lost out in some positions. Again, Matt Daly not having a particularly good race at the moment, up from the front of the pack. Now, unfortunately, at the back of it, trying to make up as many positions as he can. So after the first 5 minutes of the race there, we have Mr. Matt Young, but Mr. Alan Matthews. Well, we have Greg Young that's closed him down and is now on the back of that car. And those made a mistake there. Lost the car a little bit, so he's lost a lot of positions, lost a lot of space from him. Now the rest of the pack have been able to catch up. He's now tumbling down the field a little bit. Hopefully he'll be able to regain himself and continue on. Andrew Whitehead now on the side of him as we have possibly another change in from second place. James Rose again managing to get inside the first corner. It was a very, very handy favourable overtaking spot at the moment. Andrew Whitehead side by side. Greg Young there making the position stick by the looks of it. That's not necessarily going to make Greg too happy as he tries to come back at him at the earliest opportunity. That's allowed our race leader just to eke out quite a big lead over the rest of them. So as we look after the first few minutes, Alan Matthews is now 5 seconds ahead in first position as Greg Young has managed to get back past Andrew, who unfortunately made contact with the back of Greg's car. Greg managing to get away with not affected too much by that contact, and unfortunately Andrew Whitehead tumbling down the order a little bit. Again, lost out on some positions after such a great effort getting back up to the front of the field within the first few minutes of the race. As they come over the start-finish line again, we have Alan Matthews in first, but the gap is reducing as James Rose comes through the first chicane, now down to 3 seconds. He's got Alan in his sights, definitely. We'll be trying everything he can to reduce that gap even further. On Billingsley, showing very good performance in a rather unscathed car, now up into third position. Greg Young, after a mistake has sent him into the middle of the pack, is now again chasing cars in front of him, doing everything he can just to get back at the front of the field. Closing down on John Billingsley. He makes a little bit of a slide there. Greg Young now in the slipstream for what I believe is the last corner. Not able to make a change under the brakes. Gap very, very close to each other at the moment. He will be trying to make the move as soon as he can, trying to force John into any sort of mistake. There Will Harper again hoping to join in on the action. At the moment now, as they drag race down the main straight, Greg Young will have the slipstream, tries to the outside, makes it stick. Can he get the car slowed down? No. John trying desperately to come back at him under the braking zone, but is not able to do it. And will now have to be looking in his mirrors to make sure Will doesn't capitalise on that. Very close racing from the two of them so far. Greg not yet able to eke out a safe distance. Now it's John trying to force Greg into a mistake. Greg looks like he's gone a little bit wide on that corner, and he's lost out again to that position. John back up into third for the moment. And looks like Mr. Harper's made a spin, and is now going to be out of contention for that third place, unfortunately. As he makes a very safe rejoin, the others will be very glad about that. And manages to get going again. Whitehead looks like he's made a pass, and has been hit again on the back after making what looked like a very clean pass on Alex Smith. Unfortunately, looked like Alex couldn't quite get the car slowed down enough for the corner. Has made contact with Andrew Whitehead, sending them both into a spin. Andrew managing to maintain that position in 6th place. Unfortunately, won't necessarily be too happy at the contact from that manoeuvre. It's like Greg Young may have made an error there, perhaps, as he's now behind Paul Plant up into 4th. Couple of seconds off at the moment. As we near the first corner, it looks like our race leader is keeping it nice and smooth and steady. Lynn Matthews in first place. As we can see from the cameras, James Rose is desperately trying to close that position, now down to 2.5 seconds. In third place, John Billingsley managing to hold his own under the pressure. Now a fairly safe gap at the moment until Paul Plant at nearly 2 seconds. Greg Young hoping to try and chase him down, but not picking up any slipstream yet on Paul. There's a change in the middle of the pack as it looks like Will Harper's managed to get past Alex Smith, who is 3 seconds up the road, 3 seconds down the road, sorry, from Andrew Whitehead. As we see Will Harper just after he moves that position. Alex Smith 8th, Daly in 9th. After not a great start at the beginning of the race. Buckless in 10th, Rob Whitney in 11th, and Steve Knight in 12th place. Fastest lap there from Andrew Whitehead shows how much he's trying to push. There's a gap now from James Rose. Under 2 seconds. James is obviously trying everything in his power to try and close that gap. Still not looking like anyone looking to make a pit stop to get out of the way. Looks like everyone has settled into their race somewhat. Alex Smith only half a second of Will Harper. Sliding the cars around the corner. Light front end damage to contend with by the looks of it. On contact with Andrew Whitehead. James Rose now can't be too far behind. He can merely smell the fumes from that Alfa Romeo in front, trying to close the gap. And there are 2 leading cars, nearly 10 seconds ahead of John Billingsley in 3rd, who's being chased down by Paul Plant. Now half a second behind him. Seems to be very glad that these 2 are still battling it out now, allowing the 2 of them to eke out a further lead. So we have, by the looks of it, our first pit stop from Rob Whitney there. As James Rose now brings the gap down to 1.5 seconds between the 2 cars. Paul Plant, as we look, has managed to get the job done on John Billingsley for 3rd position there. Looks like Greg Young closing them both down again. Plant now trying everything he can just to get a safe distance away. It looks like John may be falling into the clutches. Greg Young very shortly. Andrew Whitehead again closing up very well on all of the 3 chasing cars in front of him. The gap now for 3rd place. Really very close racing between the 4 of them now. Everyone pushing very, very hard. Matt Daly currently managing to get back up to 8th at the moment. Slightly battered car for the moment. Smith doesn't look like he'll have any response for that, unfortunately. Whole plant doing his best to remain consistent. Try and keep the car pointing in the right direction. John Billingsley is trying to chase him down. Two of them are going to have to be looking at both ends of the circuit, trying to make sure they don't give an opportunity to the car behind. As Andrew Whitehead closes in. Greg Young, who in turn is doing all he can to get onto the back of John. Gap down to nearly half a second now. Looks like, will he be close enough with a slipstream? But no, Andrew Whitehead looks like he is part in the slipstream of Greg Young. Be close enough to try and maneuver. He's weaving about the back of the car. Under the brakes, gets up the side of Greg Young and then makes the move stick. Very, very clean maneuver there from Andrew Whitehead. Up into 5th place. Looks like Andrew Whitehead now is just managing to get them, extend the gap a little bit. Now both of them punching down the tail lights of John Billingsley. None of them looking to pit yet by the looks of it. Must be to see through this battle. Andrew Whitehead mere millimetres are now from the back of John's car, trying to get him under braking. John trying to defend hard. There's a lot of contact between the two. John cuts across Andrew Whitehead, unfortunately, and they both slow down. Greg able to sneak through the middle of them to get up into 4th. John really not happy with Andrew. Bullies his way past him in the corner. Very, very aggressive racing from both of them a little bit. Andrew desperately trying to make it a clean manoeuvre past John. John trying to defend as much as he can. The two unfortunately making contact there. Andrew now back in the 6th place on Billingsley 5th. And Greg Young hoping that the rear two cars will squabble amongst themselves and allow him to get away. As we just look at the front of the gap there. So our leader, Alan Matthews and James Rose, now considerably less than just over half a second, splits them as James, look, you can see how much James is trying to push, trying to use all of the circuit and more to try and get as close as he can. Looks like Sam Buckton has taking the opportunity to pit the car. Two very, very close now. Alan trying to keep James at bay as much as he can. Do as much as he can to stay in that commanding 1st place. There's been another change in the middle as Andrew Whitehead tries to get around the outside of the corner. Not able to make it stick, but Greg Young looks like has had a spin, unfortunately, on his own. I don't believe he was close to the other two when the move was happening. Unfortunately, and probably looking in the mirror at the two battling cars behind him may have caused him to make the spin or the error. I'm not too sure what happened there. Andrew Whitehead again trying to, now on the tail of John. who will be in the slipstream. John weaving about, trying to defend as much as he can. And Andrew looking at the outside of the circuit, trying to get the car slowed down under braking. Does it without the two cars do not make contact on this occasion. It's good to see. Very close gaps looking like at the back of the circuit. That Daly closes on Will Harper. James Rose again using all of the circuit that he can to try and close on Alan Matthews. Not able to get the job done as of yet. Both first and second place very, very far up the road at 13 seconds. Behind Paul Plant again, who's managed to, again, with all the squabbling going on in the from fourth onwards, now has a fair gap in front of the rest of them, as they're now starting to catch up on lapped traffic. John trying to deal with that, I believe, and keep Andrew Whitehead behind him, who will be looking at every opportunity and gets on the inside of John, makes the move stick. Can he get a gap away from him as coming up to the latter part of the circuit? Looks like Andrew just might have gained enough space to stop from John making any possible diving maneuvers into the first corner. Greg Young there coming up on the lap traffic as well. They'll have to contend that. Andrew making good progress away from John, who will now be hoping that he can make some dent in the nearly 10-second gap to Paul Plant in third place. As we look at the lead gaps, Alan Matthews keeping very, very cool under the pressure in first place, managing to keep James Rose at bay, who I believe, I mean, it looks like he must have possibly made a mistake at the moment. He's lost time to Alan for the moment, but still very, very close for the moment. It'd be very interesting whether James can make a leapfrog maneuver during the pits or something like that. See how much that affects it, as Alan has a bit of a half spin there, loses some time, allows James to close the gap to under a second. And now as they come round the final corner, will James be in the slipstream and make a maneuver in the first corner? No, it looks like he's too far back. Have any effect at the moment. Alan very lucky to get away with that error, but James is up the inside of the corner. They're side by side. They keep a lot of space between themselves. They know that they don't want to cause any issues for each other. And James Rose makes it stick, but he's very deep in the corner, loses it slightly under the braking. Allows Alan to catch up. They're still side by side for the moment. James Rose again losing it slightly under braking, managing to keep Alan at bay, but he's all over the back of him. James possibly starting to get some air between the two, but as they come over, well, James was going for the pit stop for the moment, but he may have no, that was James still not able to get much of a gap between the two. Alan still, slight error from Alan's part there. The gap now up to a second from second place. As looks like lap traffic again is going to start to play a part here. James running a little bit wide on that penultimate corner. But has a fair amount of breathing space now over Alan Matthews. So James will hoping now to put the hammer down. Right up the road with first place. Alan again trying to put the pressure on James to make an error. As we near halfway mark, 17 minutes remaining of the pit window. James Rose in first place. Alan Matthews now 1.5 seconds behind in second. Paul Plant 9 seconds down the road in third. Andrew Whitehead again another 9 seconds down the road in fourth position. Has managed to make a ever so slight dent in the gap between them. Will be pushing hard, I'm sure. John Billingsley in fifth, trying to defend as much as he can from Greg Young in sixth. Now under a second behind him. Matt Daly fighting his way back up from the back of the field in seventh. Will Harper in eighth. Alex Smith in ninth. And Buctis in 10th just as he comes over the start finish line. Steve Knight in 11th. And Rob Whitney in 12th. So it looks like the two leaders have a clear track ahead of them, not necessarily any lap to traffic to deal with that at the moment. As we have, I believe, someone else looks like in the pits. Stephen Knight now taking the opportunity to pit there. It'll be interesting to see which one of these two will make a pit stop first. Greg Young now over a second behind on Billingsley. Trying to keep him at bay. Gap starting to open up in the middle of the field now. Andrew Whitehead doing a fantastic job to close down on Paul Plant, now only a mere 5.5 seconds behind him. So potentially a very interesting battle happening there if you can keep it consistent. Quick. And Billingsley making a slight error there, having to correct the car. That's allowed Greg Young to capitalise on that and make the play stick as we come up to the straight. Johns has a slight slipstream. He's trying an outside manoeuvre, leaving an adequate amount of space. Greg Young just about managing to get it under braking enough, not let him past. A very interesting battle between the two of them. Greg Young still hounding the back of John's car. Very striking colours there on John's livery. A very Italian themed for Greg's there. As looks like Greg has the run. They are side by side coming into the first corner. And we've had a few pits there. Andrew Whitehead taking Paul Plant pitting from third, Andrew Whitehead from fourth. Greg Young has fallen back into fourth place. John Billingsley now up into third, but of course these two will have to pit at some point. Rob Whitney, unfortunately, they're having to disconnect from the server. That's never nice to see, unfortunately, when something like that happens. So that allows Stephen Knight up into 11th place. As John Billingsley now at the moment inherits 3rd place and is managing to keep Greg Young at bay for the moment. Still no sign that either of the leaders will make a pit stop yet. As I say that, Alan Matthews now opts for the pit stop. Currently 26 seconds ahead of John Billingsley. We should allow him enough time. I believe that's not necessarily going to be a good thing if he ends up being part of the small mid-pack battle, but again, John Billingsley and Greg Young still battling away very hard there as they come down start-finish straight. Will both have to pit as well. Matt Daly takes the opportunity to pit, so John and Greg currently inherit 2nd and 3rd as they swap between the two at the moment. Going very deep into the braking zone of the 1st corner. Trying to leave just enough space for each other. Greg Young at the moment has 2nd place for the moment. Alan Matthews there, I think, coming out of the pits now. Currently in 4th, so it looks like he's got a clear track around him. Daly looking like he's in the pits at the moment. James Rose, who I'm sure will be trying to make the gap as big as possible for when he has to take his pit stop. Billingsley and Greg Young still battling away. Will James take the pit? He does take pit road. This will be very interesting if he can keep a good distance away from Alan. As we also have Alex Smith in the pits at the moment. So Greg Young. John has slowed. John's car has slowed. Has he run out of fuel? What's going on with John's car? It's going very, very slow. Will he be able to make it to the pits? I believe that we have the final chicane. Is he trying to conserve like the last couple of litres to make it in as he just comes around the last corner before pit road? Just able to make it by the looks of it if he can get to his pit box to take on more fuel or perhaps repair the damage that may have happened. So a slight miscalculation by the looks of it on John's car. Gonna be able to make it to the point where he's safe in the pits. Again, it's still struggling to make it there. Andrew Whitehead managing to get up into 3rd place now. John's car just ekes its way down the pit road. Alex Smith, unfortunately, a DNF as well by the looks of it, as Paul Plant now takes a spin. Whether that's under pressure from Andrew Whitehead or whether there's been a accident there. John still eking down pit road. Positively at crawling pace now, but the car is still moving, so there is still hope yet, but that will seriously damage his chances of a position. He has registered that he is in the pit at the moment, so James Rose, after his pit stop, is in 1st place again. Alan Matthews in 2nd, 4.2 seconds behind. Andrew Whitehead now up into 3rd place. After, unfortunately, whatever incident happened with him and Paul Plant. Now 13 seconds, but we've already seen his performance that he is able to make up, such huge gaps. So it'll be interesting to see how far up the road he can make it. Greg Young in 4th, having lost his sparring partner for the moment. Now we'll have to look in his mirrors and try and defend from Paul Plant in 5th place. Matt Daly, after unfortunately not the most consistent races, in 6th at the moment. Will Harper in 7th, and Baptist in 8th. John Billingsley now currently showing as 9th, who I believe must have made it to his pit box. And Stephen Knight in 10th. Unfortunately, 2 DNFs, one being Alex Smith and Rob Whitney. So John is back out on track now. John has made it back onto the track, so just by the skin of his teeth managing to coast to the pit box. But unfortunately now is in 9th position and out of contention. So, as we're nearing the last 20 minutes of the race, pits remain open for 6 minutes now. I believe that's everyone that has made a pit stop. As we look at the gap between James Rose and Alan Matthews, now 6 seconds. Maybe it's James Rose. So Alan Matthews, being higher up in the championship, will be carrying more weight than James Rose, and has potentially made quite a significant change there. But they've both made a pit. They both have had very, very good races this evening to be where they are on the circuit. James Rose now again eking out gap to around 7 seconds. Andrew Whitehead trying his best to close down Alan Matthews after tussling with a few cars mid-pack. The car's taken some knocks by the looks of it, as you can see in the front bumper. Paint forcibly removed from the side of the car, but has managed to fight his way back up to 3rd. Very, very good performance there. Greg Young, after battling John for the majority of the race, majority of the middle of the race, now up into 4th. Paul Plant trying to close the gap as much as he can. 2 seconds behind in 5th. As we're inside the last 5 minutes of the open pit window. Daly in 6th place, again another 2 seconds behind Paul Plant. Will Harper in 7th, and Butkus in 8th, again trying to close down on Mr. Harper. John Billingsley, after that very strange incident before the pit window closes, in 9th, and Steve Knight in 10th. So some very open gaps at the moment between everyone. No major changes to speak of at the moment. New personal best, I believe, for Buctus there. gap looks like it's closing between Matt Daly and Paul Plant. No one looking like they need the pits for the last couple of minutes before that pit window closes. Run hopefully taking on enough fuel for the final third of the race. Andrew Whitehead again managing to close the gap by a few seconds to Mr. Matthews the second. James Rose, after a very, very good performance, is now extending the gap even further in first place. Matt Daly closing down on Paul Plant. The gap now under a second. Daly working very, very hard to get back to position. Paul trying to defend as hard as he can. Matt looking at a driving line outside of the normal line there, trying to eke out a mistake from Paul Plant in front of him. It looks like he's managing to get up beside him. Very, very quick, clean manoeuvre by Matt Daly there to get in front of Paul Plant. But we'll now have to check behind him to make sure Paul's not going to make any manoeuvres for the inside. But no, too far away. Matt Daly able to make it stick. Maintain that fifth position. And by the looks of it, very quickly extending the gap to Paul behind him. Who is now 2 seconds behind Greg Young in fourth place. So the pit window has now closed. Oh, John Billingsley in the pit again by the looks of it. Was he able to make that in time before the pit window closed? We didn't see, we weren't able to see when he made the place there, but he's into the pits now. Very, very close to the pit window. Have to look at the replay for that one, unfortunately, to see if he made it or not. Some very strange sort of excuse me, fueling choices from John Billingsley. That's allowed Steve Knight to claim 9th place for him. James Rose currently coming past the start-finish straight. Will not be bothered by on exiting the pit lane this time. 10 seconds up the road from Alan Matthews. And Andrew Whitehead in third position. Looks like he's managed to reduce the gap by about 3 seconds. Daly in fifth, 2 seconds behind Greg Young as they come over the start-finish straight for the last portion of the race there. Harper in 7th, Baptist in 8th, Stephen Knight in 9th place there. John again still in the pits there. The gap still maintained between Matt Daly and Paul Plant. As we see James Rose just coming up to the back of some lap traffic. Doesn't look like that will be any bother for him. Doesn't look like Stephen keeps well out of the way there. James come fast. And then Matthews with a very unscathed car for the entirety of the race. Managing to get away very early in the beginning of the race. Avoided all of the tussling in the mid-pack. And Whitehead in third. Not necessarily able to make much of a dent into the gap. Still a very interesting mid-pack performance at the moment. Everyone now settling into the rhythms, keeping the cars heading in the right direction. Paul Plant in the Pirelli themed livery there. Matt Daly, excuse me. Matt Daly's car in the yellow Pirelli theme. As we have a look again at the race leader, putting in a very, very good performance. We broach the final 10 minutes of the endurance race this evening. It's been a change in the middle. It looks like Greg Young has made a mistake there, unfortunately, in the middle of the circuit, and has allowed Matt Daly and Paul Plant up a couple of places past him. Unfortunate mistake there by Greg, who was in for a position just outside the top three. Who I'm sure will be kicking himself now from that after losing that position, a couple of positions there. Currently just a couple of seconds off Paul Plant. Will be trying desperately to damage control now, trying to get back maybe 5th place from Paul. If Paul can keep away, then a very, very good position for him. Matt Daly, very, very good work to get back up to 4th position from, unfortunately, a few instances at the beginning of the race being at the back of the circuit, back of the pack for a short time. Andrew Whitehead able to cut a couple more seconds off the gap between him and Alan Matthews. Doing a very, very steady, consistent pace throughout the entire race. Mid-pack now will have to contend fairly soon with some lapped cars. John Billingsley, unfortunately, it looks like his potentially not rejoining the race. As we see new personal best there. And just as you see there, John Billingsley now unfortunately DNF from the race. Rather shame to see him in the race that way. After battling with the other cars, with Matt Daly for a rather long time. Very exciting battle between the two of them. Paul Plant making a slight error there. Able to get away with it. Trying to keep Greg at bay as he's trying Greg tries to chase him down and regain 5th position. The gap between Alan Matthews and Andrew Whitehead now down to 7.5 seconds. Andrew is now desperately trying to get back 2nd position. With just over 6 minutes remaining of this race. But we all know it's by no means over yet. James Rose now 14 seconds up the road. And Alan Matthews, very, very good performance in today's race. Hopefully his concentration won't waver too much the last 5 minutes. Andrew Whitehead now reducing the gap slightly further. We'll be waiting for that moment when he can see the back of Alan Matthews' car around the next bend. Top 3 positions now 20 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Greg Young now less than a second behind Paul Plant. With 5 minutes remaining, will he be able to challenge Paul for that 5th position? Greg Young showing very, very quick pace. Some small mistakes there costing him dearly throughout the evening. Trying to put the pressure on Paul Plant. Get his eyes diverted from where he's going to looking in the mirror. Very aggressive curves there as they go around the last corner and back across the start-finish straight. Greg Young still too far away, not quite picking up the slipstream enough to make any manoeuvres. As it looks like they may have a lapped car to contend with. Which potentially could fall into Greg Young's favour. Bianco Motorsport's livery car there. Paul Plant just switched to the inside, manages to get round Stephen Knight there. But Chris has entered the pits for, I believe it must be a 2nd pit stop of his. As he comes out just in front of the leader by the looks of it. We'll be looking to get around him, who doesn't even break a sweat as he gets past Sam there. Aren't able to keep Greg at bay, who seems to be rather wrong in the middle of the circuit. As we now close as we just click over the last 2 minutes of the race, plus a lap from the leader. The gap between the Young and Paul Plant now under a second. Andrew Whitehead now just over 5 seconds behind Andrew. We will be able to see him ahead of him. Bar any drastic moves from Alan, should maintain the second position. Rather deserved place from his very clean and consistent performance. James Rose now going through the first few corners, keeping it very smooth. Now, gap's dropped a little bit between him and Alan, but still able to maintain very, very good gap. We're going now even closer as they come through the final section of the circuit. Will he be close enough to make a run? Down the start finish straight, Paul Plant goes wide and he's able to close up and has made the position up very, very easily there. Practically handed the position by Paul Plant there. Unfortunately, he goes wide in the final corner. Stephen Knight, as we see, go into the pits for what I believe, what I suspect must be a final splash and dash. So in the closing stages of the race, Greg Young able to get 5th back. A mistake cost him a couple of places. As we see the leader take the final couple of corners of the race. So, as the leader begins the final lap of the race, currently Alan Matthews, 2nd place. Andrew Whitehead in 3rd, just under 5 seconds behind him now. Matt Daly in 4th, Greg Young in 5th. Roughly a second ahead of Paul Plant in 6th. Will Harper, unfortunately, having a slight spin there, but recovering well to continue on. In 7th, Sam Buctus in 8th, and Steve Knight in 9th there. And then we have our 3 DNFs, unfortunately, but due to where they ended their race. Maintain those positions. Paul Plant, by the looks of it, trying to get onto the back of Greg Young. The gap eking out between the two of them on the final lap. Still no let up in James Rose's pace there as he comes to complete the final lap of the race through the chicane complex and down Nice and easy not to make any errors as he comes around the final corner of the race to complete the race in first place. James Rose. Very well done to him there. Alan Matthews in second place, 13 seconds behind. Andrew Whitehead in third, unfortunately not able to close on second, but a very, very good performance to fight all the way back up to third place. Matt Daly, after a tough beginning of the race, comes across the line in fourth place. Very, very well fought to get back up to that position. Greg Young finishing in fifth after some very close battles. Paul Plant in sixth. Will Harper in seventh position. Just over the line, Sam Buctus, who was, I believe, just after James Rose on the line, takes eighth. And Stephen Knight in ninth position closes out the grid. And R3 DNFs after that. So fantastic performance from James Rose after some tough battles to close up. Mr. Matthew drive away up the road into the sunset with first place. Very, very well done to him. So, unfortunately, Assetto Corsa hasn't developed to the point where we can allow for a huge splendor of a finale at the end. But very well done to Mr. Rose there for the first place. That will end the stream for this evening. It would be interesting to see what happens during the week if any decisions are made by the stewards on some of the contact that was made. Some very, very good close racing during the whole thing there. And very much look forward to next week. I hope you can join me then. Very much if you've been watching. There will be a summary video after or available online, so keep an eye out for when that's loaded. I hope you can join us for next Thursday's race, and hope to see you then.